If you're a strength coach or you're a physio or you're an athletic trainer and you just look at the knee, then you've got a problem. Or you don't look at what's the athlete's sport, what's their position, what is that overuse pattern going to do to them? You know, especially in non-contact sports. That's what really irks me. Baseball's a good example of it. That could have been avoided because it's too reactionary. You're not proactive. You don't say, Chris is a right-handed first baseman and he takes, 300 swings per week and, throws the ball X amount of times in this pattern. Like, that's going to have this affect on his structure. So I need to do this to just unravel that. I can't wait until he has an imbalance, runs up the first baseline, and pulls his hamstring.
We believe that you are strong by design, and you were made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. You're listening to the #1 strength and health authority podcast in the world. So let's get ready to unlock your potential and transform your life in today's episode. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Strong by Design podcast. Hosting today, Coach Chris Wilson. So glad you've joined us. You've tuned into a podcast that's about a topic, actually, that I love talking about with a guest and a new friend that I haven't talked about in quite a while. In fact, the last time I probably had a similar conversation would be with a mutual acquaintance or friend of ours, Ben Prentiss, another Ben.
Wow.
But it's been a minute since I've talked to such a high level strength and conditioning expert like we have today on the show. Before I get to introducing our guest, I want to say just welcome if you're a new listener to the podcast. Lots of episodes to go back and listen to. If you've just landed on us or someone just shared this episode with you, go back and listen. There's 400 plus episodes now on the show and been running since May of 2018 and still having a blast with every conversation, with every new friend and new guest that we have on the show. And if you're a return listener, we just appreciate you. Thank you for coming back and supporting us. So today on Strong by Design, we're joined by Ben Velazquez. He's an award-winning, nationally recognized strength and conditioning coach and one of the leading experts in concussion recovery and corrective movement. Depending on how much we talk about that today, we might have to do a second episode on just that topic because that is something that even Mike, who you're talking with, the owner of the company, is interested in. Ben has worked with elite athletes across the MLB, the NFL, the NHL, and even played a key role in Mariano Rivera's remarkable return during his final season. I think that's true, right?
Yes,
I saw it on the internet, so it must be true. He's the founder of Gray Matters Sports Group, and he's helped countless athletes overcome injuries, restore balance, and extend their careers at the highest level. He was introed to me by a recent guest, Preston Ely, and he said, you have to meet this guy. You have to talk with him. He fixed my body. He's a one of one. He's an amazing human being. So welcome, Ben, to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
It's great to have you
Shout out
here.
to Ben Prentiss and Preston Ely.
Oh, my gosh, I know.
Yeah.
My old friend, mutual friend, Ben Prentiss, who was a guest on our show many years ago. He's one of my mentors, old friend from World Gym days. We used to talk. I used to see him working with all kinds of men and women, super fit to the stay-at-home mom who's just trying to get a little something going in her life. And he opened up his own facility. This is back in January of 2000 with his dad kind of helping him, Larry. And we always got along, and he said, I need good trainers. I'm opening up a studio, private studio, one-on-one training. It's going to be real intimate, really high class, like the best equipment, just kind of small, but like really, really nice. And I'm like, ooh, and that's just a new concept back then. This is 25 years ago. This is kind of a newer thing, wasn't it?
Very new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was very appealing to me. And after working in box gyms for years at that point, and I went, and it was one of the best jobs I've ever had to this day. And I worked with people I enjoyed. They were friends. We were together 6 days a week. For you know how it is. I was there from 5 a.m. in the morning until 8 o'clock at night often. Half days on Saturdays, and living a good life, making a good income, working with people who took their health seriously. And I think that's what really drives us, and our passion is like when you're working with somebody who gives it everything, and they want what you have to offer them. And that passion, it's like reciprocal, you know?
Yeah, but what I liked about Ben, he always ran a good shop, him and his dad, for sure.
Yes.
But what I liked about Ben, which is still true today, is that we both were pretty successful. We had a successful practice, and we met because we were still learning.
Yeah.
You know, he had a successful one-on-one training business. He didn't have to, but he wanted to work at a higher level, and he wanted to get better.
Yep.
So that's how we eventually met, through Charles Poliquin.
Yeah, Charles.
And we both studied with him for a little while, and we both, did different work for him for a few years and stayed friends. But yeah, Ben's a good dude. I like him a lot.
Yeah, real good dude. Yeah, that is funny. I remember that time. That time frame was so interesting because he was always looking to educate himself and to educate his staff. He would bring Charles in. We would go and participate in workshops. He would pay for me to go and go to conferences and stuff. They were a big believer in that. And then we'd still have fun and go to like Night of Champions in the city and see all the pro bodybuilders.
Oh, no doubt.
Stuff like that. Just fun.
Good
stuff.
personality, funny.
Yeah.
Likes to have fun. Likes to go out and have fun. And if I'm not mistaken, if memory serves me right, he played basketball here in Tampa.
He did.
Like at a high level.
He did.
Yeah,
it was funny.
Yeah.
It was before my time being down here.
Yeah.
Because that would have been in the 90s.
Yeah.
And
I remember him being a good ball player.
Yeah, he was a good basketball player. He's a really good athlete, really super fit. Good looking guy. All the girls liked him, I remember that. And but all around just a great dude, and we used to spend a lot of time together. So I got to ask right off the bat, because of course people, they start hearing stuff like, "Oh, you work with pro athletes, this, that, and the other." He's got to have a story or something. So like, is there a story with an athlete that captures the impact of what you're capable of, or what your work is?
On my work.
Yeah. So as a strength and conditioning movement specialist, you're an expert when it comes to strengthening the body and correcting imbalances, overcoming injuries, overcoming traumas, things like that. In that work, are there any stories that come to mind, success stories or funny stories, or with somebody like a high caliber type person that would wow the listeners?
There's been quite a few, and I would hope that an element of my work, played a big part of that in those success stories. But I had a pro boxer that was probably one of the first concussion cases that I worked with. And this was 10 years ago, maybe, so I'll leave his name out of it. But he suffered a really bad concussion or two in the last fight that he had. And when he came to us, I said, well, he goes, he got all the normal neurological tests. His brain was fine, thank goodness for that. But he said, my daughter throws the keys to me, the car keys, and I can't catch them.
Oh, man.
So for me, that was like striking. This guy's, he's a world champion.
Right.
And he's telling me this, privately. So that for me was an ability to sit back and kind of reverse engineer everything.
Wow.
And say, okay, this is how I can help him. This is how I can't help him. And this is what we need to do. And we put together a good plan, and he was able to fight again in 7 months, which was good. And, he continued on to have a really good rest of his career as a world champion.
Wow.
So it was interesting because that was, the first where I said, okay, there's a lot on the line here.
Wow. Well, and the brain's just it's a different animal. There's so much that we are still learning about the brain and about how it, if it does get hit hard, if it does get a trauma, if it does get injured, whatever, what's life look like after, right? It's not like, contusion. It's not like hurting your knee or your shoulder and stuff. Those are, you kind of know what to expect and how it's going to heal, what the timeline is for it. The brain is just a whole different thing. And, I think I think it was Dr. Boz, Annette Bosworth, who's a local internal medicine doctor, who's been on our show several times. And she's talked about, your brain's consistency of butter, of like, a hard butter.
Fluid. It's just like,
and it's floating
liquid
around inside a bony, hard, protective layer. And when you hit that thing repeatedly or very hard once, you don't know how it's gonna respond. So that's quite interesting. But you were able to get that boxer back into the ring and performing at a high level.
Oh yeah, and he won a world championship fight after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's impressive.
So
Wow.
that was, like I said, it was one of a stark example in the career where you go, okay, I have to really understand my tool, my skill set, and how I can use it here.
What initially got you interested in not obviously, concussion protocols and solutions and stuff, but prior to that, just working with high-level athletes and being a movement specialist, being a strength and conditioning expert, what was your driving force to kind of elevate to that?
I think initially it was, my background, my undergraduate's in engineering and aeronautical science.
Interesting. So
different,
very different.
Yeah, very different, but fortunately the engineering education is what I use the most.
Wow.
Believe it or not. Yeah, even in sports science. So I would say that about more than 10 years ago, I was doing pretty much straight strength and conditioning and working with hockey players, working with some baseball, some football, off-season stuff where you have a limited amount of time to kind of help best to improve performance. And what I found was all the guys were hurt. So most of the time was spent just trying to correct. Wow. So I said, I need to get better at that. And I thought about going back to school and going to PT school, but I felt like there was a lot of missing links in the Western PT model. So I found a really good program out of France, out of Marseille, with a Dr. Guy Voyer. It was more of an osteopathic program. But he had a route where it was all soma training and soma therapy. So it was all training, corrective exercise. And so I studied with him for about 5 years and started doing more rehab.
Wow.
And when I started doing more rehab, it was more orthopedic stuff, more, ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, more return to play stuff.
Yes.
Guys, are not quite ready to be field ready or game ready, so they come to you and they need you to put together a program so they can step on the field. In doing that, in assessing them, something called the needs analysis, where I'm saying, Chris, we're sitting down and we're doing an eval. We're doing some testing, but a lot of talking. And I'm getting a history. So I started asking about head trauma because the movie Concussion or the book came out. And I had read the book. And I said, let me, include this in my assessment and find out a little bit more about it. When I started looking at the numbers, like 80% of the athletes that I was seeing had one or more, like severe events, not like just subconcussive stuff. Yeah. But like they could remember in their career, including baseball, a lot of times including baseball. And then odd sports that I would get in sometimes, like figure skating is really big.
Really? Really?
falls on the ice.
Just because you're going down and that ice is not forgiving.
Exactly.
Wow.
Equestrian, that's another one.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Of course, yeah.
Because of the falls.
Which is huge here in Ocala.
Right. So I started seeing that, and I said, I need to find out more about this. And at the time, there wasn't what there is now. At the time, there was very little. It was, you would get some type of CAT scan, some other type of brain testing. If you were lucky, they would do an MRI or an X-ray on the neck. And then you were told to rest and stay in a dark room. Wow. And the protocols to come back were all over the place. So since then, it's gotten a lot better.
Well, they've taken it a lot more seriously in the last, let's say 10 years, maybe or less. But, where they're looking, they have people now watching athletes performing and saying, you know what, he just had a collision or he just went down and I don't like how he's moving right now.
No doubt.
We're going to pull him off. We're going to look at him closely, right? They didn't do that stuff ever. I mean, you were, it was almost just like the opposite. It was like, dude, you got your bell rung. Get the hell out there. Are you tough or you're not tough? And that's with athletes, men or women. Obviously, I'm talking mostly to the men because that's, most of the professional athletes that we're watching are men out there colliding on the ice, colliding on the football field, on the basketball court, right? Or any of the boxers in the ring, And you just say, heck, I'm tough. I can deal with this. I got a headache, whatever. And people probably have some excruciating headaches that they're overlooking. A potential, major health crisis with their brain, right? But they're just like, But now it does seem like it's moving in a direction that's going to benefit the athlete at the end of the day because it comes down to their life. You're playing a sport, and I realize it's your career, and you take it seriously, and you don't want to miss playing time, and but you're somebody's son, you're somebody's dad, you're somebody's husband, whatever, Yeah,
that's the reality of it. Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. It's gotten better. So I really started to notice that huge jump in the assessment with the athletes. And what I did was I said, I need to know how I can understand this better. So I looked at all aspects of it, did as much research as I could, studied a little bit with, a few of the experts in the field. And I said, okay, I can look at the mechanical aspects of it. And that's what I do. I look at the structure, and the other stuff, I leave it to the experts, the neurology, the physiology.
Sure.
But I just look at the structure and how that affects the function.
Yeah. And you said something I don't want to glaze over earlier that, when you were doing a lot of stuff that was rehab-oriented, not necessarily just getting these guys in the gym, getting them stronger, lifting more weight.
No, you couldn't.
Because what their bodies needed was they needed to heal, and they needed to reset, right? And they needed to be in a better alignment and be right and get rid of some of the inflammation and get rid of some of the muscle imbalance and all this stuff that's going on behind the scenes. Because when you're younger, it's all about just getting stronger, right? Getting stronger, getting fat, bigger, faster, stronger, And that's what I think everyone thinks of when they think of a strength coach or a strength and conditioning coach, is that you're just working one-on-one, that you're out on the field doing agility work, or you're in the gym under a bar moving a lot of weight. But that's not really was your main work, was really trying to get people to the back on the field.
No, they don't. The term strength coach, that is very North American.
Yeah.
When I've had the opportunity to intern and study with some of the best coaches around the world.
Yes.
And, for example, in Europe, they call you're a trainer, but you have to know, like you said, you have to know a certain amount of anatomy. You have to know it dives into that therapeutic realm. Totally. And, you don't regard yourself as just strength and conditioning. So, there's too many limitations on that.
Yeah.
Because that's the one axiom in sports science that has been avoided and ignored in the last 20 years. It's structure dictates function, and function dictates structure. So if you're a strength coach, or you're a physio, or you're an athletic trainer, or you're an orthopedic surgeon, and you just look at the knee, then you've got a problem. Or you don't look at what's the athlete's sport, what's their position. You know, what is that overuse pattern going to do to them?
Yep.
You know, especially in non-contact sports. That's what really irks me professionally, is when there's injuries in non-contact sports. Baseball's a good example of it.
Sure.
That could have been avoided because it's too reactionary. You're not proactive. You don't say, Chris is a right-handed first baseman and he takes, 300 swings per week and, throws the ball X amount of times in this pattern. Like, that's going to have this affect on his structure. So I need to do this to just unravel that.
Yep.
I can't wait until he has an imbalance, runs up the first baseline, and pulls his hamstring, which happens all the time. All the time.
We see it on the football. I just saw it on the football field was it Mike Evans?
Yeah, I
just
know.
this on Sunday.
Yeah.
He was coming out of a short pattern. He was running, and you could tell he pulled up.
Yeah.
Pulled his hammy, and it was who knows what was it? What was it? Well, I don't know. It was I believe it was in the second half. He was maybe he just didn't get a good warm up. It's hard to rewarm the body sometimes, right?
So many variables.
There's so many variables, right?
So many.
He could have been dealing with something that, because all these guys, like you said, they're all kind of dealing with something.
Football is the only one where I have to give a pass to. Because it's literally, when you work with football players, whether you're a strength coach, you're an athletic trainer, or you're a PT or a chiro, it's almost always you are plugging holes.
Yep. Yes.
Let me get this to this point.
You're trying to just prevent the boat from sinking.
Because there's contact all the time.
Oh, my gosh.
And the force production is crazy, and it's like a car accident.
Yes.
And so, you're dealing with that. So it's more triage.
Yes, triage.
Than it is anything else.
Yeah.
So I give those guys a big pass.
Yes.
But sports like baseball and soccer and even basketball to a certain extent, like the data's there, the information is there. There's a good way to prepare these guys so they don't get as hurt as much.
Yeah. There's probably, would you say there's almost an equal amount of collisions in like hockey as there is with football?
No.
So football's still kind of in its own category when it comes to that.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Okay.
The force production in football. I mean, these guys are big and strong in hockey, don't get me wrong.
No, they are.
And they hit hard.
They do.
But it's not, if you look at the hits in hockey and you go on the sidelines on an NFL game, there's no comparison.
And you've been on the sidelines probably to a few games in your
a few.
A few in your career.
Yeah.
When people first off probably don't, unless you've been around some of these people before, you don't realize just how huge everyone is.
Oh, big and athletic.
Everyone is between 6 foot and 6'7", between 230 to 300 plus pounds, and they are fast.
Your best athletes in all of North America are in the NFL.
Yep.
Hands down.
Yep.
2 years ago, somebody told me this, and I was like, wait, what? They said there was 12 West Africans that had never taken a college snap that were playing in the NFL because they were such good athletes,
Holy cow.
Especially from that part of the world, they were just such good athletes
that
they were able to learn the game.
Yes.
At that level. I mean, obviously, you don't have quarterbacks and certain skill positions that, but,
physically,
there's guys out there. There's guys out there. And so That's what you get when you get the NFL. I have big respect for them.
When you assess an athlete, and you've done a few assessments in your time, I'm sure, is there a number one thing that you see, a weakness maybe, or a particular ailment or issue that you're seeing over and over again, that beyond the concussion thing? Is there something that's maybe more specific to a particular sport, but something that across the board with high-level athletes that you're seeing repetitively when it comes to
high-level athletes that I'm seeing repetitively?
Like anything that's spinal related, knees or shoulders or hips that you see kind of over and over, a recurring kind of this one. I get this. I see this all the time. I know how to fix it.
If I had to point out a commonality, and it wasn't one specific injury, I'd say with the older athletes that they tend to get more rigid in the spine.
Plus 30, like 35.
They'll get more rigid.
Yeah.
That could be a result of old injuries. It could be a result of their sport. It could be a result of their nutrition. It could be a result of many, many variables.
Yeah.
But you see that
like
they have
thoracic spine
primarily,
too,
upper thoracic and their lumbar spine as well.
Too,
yeah, they get more rigid. They lose the ability to,
I know, I feel that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm old. I'm almost 50, so.
That's not old.
And I say, old for me. Like, I feel sitting at my desk isn't serving me anything very well.
It's a lot. I would say that it's rigid. It's also the fascia, all the torsion and all the injuries.
Yep.
I would say with younger athletes, it's postural. You see that's the commonality. And I think that's just digital devices.
Yeah.
I think that's, especially in the last 10 years, I haven't looked at one young athlete where I haven't said, oh, you don't need to do these corrective exercises for your posture first, because otherwise you're going to hurt yourself if you start doing more, traditional exercises in the gym.
Are you focused extra on neck strengthening stuff? Is the neck, because I know, I mean, as a football player growing up, the neck, even back in the 80s, I remember doing a lot of, and wrestlers do a lot of neck stuff.
Tons of neck
But
stuff.
even as football players, we would do a lot of neck stuff because we really, back in the day too, you used to have the big foam thing around the shoulder pads, and they took that away. They probably should. I don't know if that was helpful or not, but I don't know. I do remember doing a lot of stuff specifically to try and strengthen our necks.
There's definitely something to that. There's no question about it, because your neck your cervical spine has to have both strength and mobility.
Yes.
And it's also a big command center for information to your brain.
Yep.
So I would say that neck strength is important. However, a lot of the neck strengthening programs, even the current ones, there's something in sports science called the gradient of disparity, right? So if you have a structural imbalance, so your neck extensors are too weak for your neck flexors, or you have an imbalance in mobility, you have to fix that first before you start doing reinforcement.
Got it.
Because your gradient of disparity is going to continue to get bigger. So your strength is going to be too big for your mobility, or your strength is going to be too big for your proprioception, for the information. So before strengthening, you have to make sure that the cervical spine is functioning optimally relative to your gravity line, relative to the rest of your spine. If it's functioning optimally, then reinforce along with awareness. Strengthen, especially for sports like that. I think for every sport, the neck, reinforce. No question about it. But before you do that, it has to be right mobility, no imbalances, no injuries. Do you need treatment? Do you not need treatment?
Is there anybody that, and I'm sure several people would come to mind, some people are just physical specimens, like just in a league of their own. I remember Ben Prentiss, to bring his name up again. Remember him talking about David Boston.
Oh yeah, we both worked with him. David was he was a freak.
He that's what he would say. He said David's a freak.
Unbelievably athletic and unbelievably strong, smart.
He was a end, wasn't he, for the as Cardinals? Mm-hmm. Now this is 20 something years ago now, but he might have played for a few teams. But I know he's with the Cardinals.
He played wide out.
Or was he was wide out? Wide out, not tight end.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, wide out. Mm-hmm. But he was a monster man. He was for a wide out. He was big. I mean,
big and strong.
Big and strong.
And strong. But that was his game. Is if he caught the ball, they couldn't take him down.
Couldn't take him down. He's like the Derrick Henry as a wide receiver. Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Who everyone knows he's just such a monster human being who still trains like he's trying to make the team.
Yeah.
Like Jerry Rice did. You know what I mean? When you're already at the top.
There's certain guys like that. James Harrison is like that. If you follow him on Instagram, and I worked with him a little bit, and he's like that. And it's not for the social media. Like that's the way he trains.
Yes.
Like he's really trains that way.
Walter Payton was known for just
strong.
Yeah, strong.
Real strong.
People couldn't hang with him.
I heard he was real strong. He could pinch grip 245-pound plates.
Yeah, that's most human beings.
Yeah, he was
wouldn't
really
even
strong.
think of being able to do anything like that.
Yeah.
I've tried doing that with 25s.
Yeah,
and I can get him off the ground. Oh, sorry, there's a little alarm. I can get him off the ground, but you can only hold him for like a matter of seconds.
So you said freaks.
Yeah,
that I've worked with, or that I've seen or played with?
A little bit of both. I don't care. It's fun. It's fun to be able to talk about the athletes.
David Boston was right up there with guys that I've worked with. Mo Vaughn was a freak.
Oh, yeah, Mo Vaughn.
Yeah, Mo Vaughn. Even though he played baseball, he was a football player. He was a good football player.
Back in
Scouted for football.
Yep.
And when I say freak, I mean in the most respectful, best sense. I mean it in the sense that his body would respond very easily. Mo went from the off season not being in shape. It was public knowledge. He was not in shape and weighing north of 300 pounds. And he showed up in spring training and he was 263 with abs.
Oh my God.
And he could do 6 pull-ups at that weight.
Wow.
Yeah, so he was one guy that I don't know if I'd give myself that much credit because I think he would have responded to pretty much anything.
Correct.
Right. And then guys that I've played with, there's only one guy that I tell everybody that you just have never seen a guy that big and strong move that graceful. That was Bo Jackson.
Oh my gosh! Well, he's the legend.
I was
He's
able to play with him in not football, obviously, baseball.
Yeah.
And
wow.
It was crazy when I saw that guy behind the plate. I saw him hit a ball in the gap, and I've never seen a human being get from home to third that fast. He hit a triple, and that big a guy.
Gosh, probably got there in 9 seconds.
Oh yeah, and I saw him like most guys. What was a foul tip? I saw him like hit a ball 400 feet like off his shoelaces, just Superman stuff.
Yeah.
Like Cam Newton's another one.
I love
like
watching. Yeah, Cam.
Just
Newton.
like Superman stuff.
Superman stuff.
Yeah.
Bo Jackson, though, because of his multi-sport, kind of thing. He was playing 2 professional sports at the same time. He was big and strong, lightning fast. Could break a bat over his head, over his leg with his bare hands.
Yeah.
His legs.
He
would
have had a long career. His injury was interesting. Now they would have treated it differently.
They would have, right?
They would have treated because they did surgery. They didn't have to do surgery, and he would have been treated a lot differently. But yeah, he was an interesting dude. But now it's like there's so many guys like that in every sport that you're gonna run across that 1% in every sport.
I know Herschel Walker was kind of that guy, running back for the Cowboys back
I never met him,
about that same time frame. I think I recall hearing that he was a guy who was a physical specimen, did not do weights or standard traditional weight training.
I heard that as well.
He was a avid body weight training guy. He would do thousands of push-ups and thousands of air squats or thousands of pull-ups or whatever it was, and he was just a freak. Super fast, super strong, and stayed that way. Stayed super fit. As he so genetically, I think he was already at a certain spot genetically, plus the work ethic, plus all that stuff. It's just how do you deal with somebody like that? You're a force of nature. Anybody else come to mind before I go to my next question? Anybody else maybe a hockey player of some kind?
Well, guys that impress me are guys that I know that if they put their mind to it, they could have reached another high level in another sport. Because not just to have the physical capabilities of it and the athleticism that they develop as kids, but also that that they have the mindset where they could, play professional golf if they wanted to, or or play another sport, or be successful in business, which you see a lot. McDavid's very impressive. Connor's a friend and also a client, and I've worked with him since he was a rookie. And again, it's with guys that there's levels to that. He realized early on he had to take care of his body. He was the best therapist. So he does everything he's supposed to do. And that's what is giving him this longevity, and he's, great for so long.
Right.
But that's universal amongst all sports. When you find those outliers, they realize that, and they kind of take advocacy of their own performance and their own.
Well, Tom Brady's a great guy to look at, right? For that,
exactly.
I mean, that's a guy who understood. I got to take care of my body. I'm a pocket passing quarterback, right? My brain and my health are going to keep me upright and going to keep me in the game, and so I got to do everything I can myself. And he, created his own health line, and still looks like he could go out there and probably play with some of these younger guys as old as he is, which is crazy because the success that he had in his 40s, just in his 40s, you could argue are good enough to get into like Hall of Fame conversation. And that's his resume just from his 40s.
Right.
You can't say that about anybody.
Yeah, no, very few athletes that, performed at that level. Maybe he's the only one at that level.
Yeah, he might.
At a world championship level.
World championship level.
Maybe George Foreman.
Oh, amazing.
That's another one in his sport that you could say. Bernard Hopkins.
Yeah.
Late in his career, that performed at a super, super high level. It's hard to say. It's hard to pick.
It is.
A guy that impresses me now before we jump off of athletes is Ohtani.
Yeah, Shohei Ohtani. Yeah.
He impresses me because I don't think that unless you're really a baseball nut, or you've played baseball, you don't realize how anomalous that is.
Yeah.
You don't realize how wild that is. Because there have been a few guys that have done it, but at his level, for him to pitch and be a position player and be successful at both.
Yes.
At that level, it's crazy, man.
With the
he really impresses me.
Extraordinary hitting, too.
It's
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I mean,
unusual.
Ankiel was a guy that we work with that played for the Cardinals, and he's right from down the street in Jupiter. He's a great dude. And for me, he was a freak because he started off as a pitcher, then ran into problems pitching, and then came back as an outfielder and played. And at the time, I thought, wow, but Ohtani's doing both at the same time.
Yeah.
This is like next level.
Yeah, he really is. Well, we're watching we're in the midst of a guy
Of greatness.
Of greatness.
It's beautiful.
And
Yeah.
it's fun. It is fun to watch for
Yeah.
sure. And I'm not, he's a West Coast guy. I'm not a Dodger guy by any stretch of the imagination.
No way.
But it's just like earlier in Brady's career, I'm a Giants fan. I grew up in the Northeast. I was a New York Giants, still am a New York Giants fan, and a Tampa Bay Buck fan, of course.
My condolences.
I know. It hasn't been an easy 10 years being a Giants fan, I'll tell you. I think they're cursed since they said bye-bye to Coughlin and Eli in ways that weren't, I think, fair is a crappy word. It's not the right word. Honoring to them as multi-Super Bowl winning coach and quarterback. Yeah. And they kind of did them wrong, and I think they're paying the price. I think there's
People forget that those teams were the only ones that had New England's number.
The only team that at least made them look human.
That was the only team. I have a real funny story for you because you like funny stories.
I love stories. Everyone who's listening knows I like a story. Man.
You'll know because you're a Giants fan, and I'm not that big a football fan, so I don't know the year, but when they played New England in the Super Bowl.
Yes. The first time or the second?
The first time.
First time, yeah.
So what year was that?
That was the 07 season, and 08 they won the Super Bowl.
Okay, so it has to be the second time.
Second time. So that's the 2011 season,
Perfect.
2012 Super Bowl.
Right. So both were wins, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So the second Super Bowl, we're working with some MLB guys. And at the time, we're working with two guys on the Red Sox. Big Papi's one of them. Okay, probably one of the best personalities that you'll ever meet.
Oh, he's
hands down,
he's phenomenal.
One of the best guys you'll ever meet.
Yeah, he seems
so. We got friendly because we were working, and we had an office in the Dominican Republic, so we would go down there once a month. Just so happened myself and the therapist that I was working with, we were the only guys down there, and it was Super Bowl weekend.
Oh, wow.
And so we're like, we're going to watch the Super Bowl, and Big Papi was down there, and he goes, you're watching the game. Now, obviously, he plays for Boston, so him and all his crew in the DR are wearing New England gear.
Of course.
Okay? So they go, we're gonna watch the game. You wanna watch with us? And I said, dude, I'm from New York. There's no way that I'm not rooting for the Giants. And this guy's gonna go with whoever I go with, right? So he goes, that's okay. He goes, nah, come. So he rented out a private restaurant, like a small little place, big screen TV. So we're watching the game there. So all these guys are chirping at me, right? The whole time.
Sure.
So I'm just taking it, and Victor Cruz was one of the wide receivers, right?
Yes, he was.
And so I said to Big Papi, I go, when the Giants score, when they score, you have to stand in the middle and dance salsa.
Do the salsa like Victor Cruz, right?
If New England scores, I'll do it. So Victor Cruz scores. Don't you know, this guy got up, turned on the music. There's 70 people in there. Starts dancing. That's the kind of guy he is.
He honored the bet.
He honored it, and it was perfect.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's so good. Yeah, I mean, that was a wonderful experience to have twice inside of a pretty short period of time as a Giants fan. Just the defense they had, the funny kind of storylines that Eli would be involved in as kind of the dopey Manning brother, who's kind of like aloof and like not knowing what's going on. I'm like, he fooled everybody, dude.
Fox in a hen house.
Yep.
I worked with him twice. Great guy.
He is.
Very smart.
Yep.
Fox in a hen house.
It's great, isn't it?
That's all like that aw shucks.
Aw shucks.
That aw shucks.
Yep.
He's an assassin.
It's amazing, isn't it? I think that was the thing I found most appealing because I'm a pretty animated, energy kind of guy. I get fiery and all that stuff. Just like Tom Brady type of stuff. Yelling and barking and doing all that stuff. That's kind of me as a competitor. Eli, always calm, always reserved. And Tom Coughlin said, when it came down to it, there is no quarterback on this planet that I'd rather have than Eli Manning when it counts. And how many times did we see Eli take his team down the field and score a winning, besides the Super Bowls, in the playoffs, in his playoff record?
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like in big game moments, his ability to go down and win a game in the fourth quarter is second to none. I mean, he's right there. Now you could say, oh, look at his, he's barely over 500 for his career and all this, that. There's a lot of other things that go into that, It's a team sport. It's not
but
a quarterback
football players will tell you, big game.
Big game.
Big game.
How are you in the big games, in the big moments? And that's why I 100%, think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And I'm not. I'm not being biased. I
don't know enough about football to have an opinion on that.
I know. And that's fair. That's fair. But he's certainly one of my favorites, obviously. So, what would you say is one of your, or what's the biggest mistake that you see with athletes and teams, as we talked about a little bit earlier, when it comes to assessing a player's condition or a concussive state, perhaps, or some type of ailment that they're the athlete doesn't want to come off the field or off the ice or off. They want to stay on, sometimes to their own demise. Is there something there that you can kind of point to that has come about in the last maybe 10 years and we have made improvements in dealing with some of these on the field or in the moment, in the game situations when it comes to injuries or traumas?
I think it's better when it comes with respect to head trauma.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely better because anytime you're getting more information from the athletes as a baseline, and also you're looking at more things, like you said, they're looking at the players and they're watching them carefully.
Yes.
I think that's a good thing. We already brushed a little bit upon with regards to injuries, structure, and function.
Yes.
I think that's a thing that teams and individuals need to look at. Now, with acute injuries, the biggest issue that I see that has not gotten better, if anything, I think that it's gotten worse with more specialization, is the lack of clarity when it comes to the globality of the body. So, for example, if you have an injury, okay, how is that affected by the former surgery you had? Or how is, when I say the globality of it, if you have a problem in your shoulder, how's that going to affect your neck mobility or your pelvic mobility?
Sure.
Or even more nuanced than that, if you have back-to-back games and you guys are traveling, what's the sleep look like?
Yeah.
What's the quality of... So do you need to go to that morning skate and that morning practice? Or is that something that you guys want to skip because of this? And more teams are looking at that. Right? Have you done your recovery stuff? Did you get treatment? So more the globality of it, the globality of the system, with regards to injuries and not looking at things myopically. Not looking at, you got...
Everything's connected.
Yeah, your elbow hurts.
Yeah.
Oh, your elbow hurts. Oh, your elbow hurts. Yeah, but, he didn't get hit with a sledgehammer in his elbow. Right. It's like, what's going on with the pelvis, with the scapular girdle, with the cervical spine? Why does his elbow hurt? Because he didn't get hurt. It's never hurt before. We're doing everything the same. Is he dehydrated? Did your diet change?
Yeah.
Do you have... Great story, NFL guy. To this point. Keeps getting bilateral hamstring strain. He's a running back. I'm like, what's going on? Everything is the same. I said, you didn't change anything. Change your shoes. No. Change your surface. No. Blah, blah, blah. So are you taking anything different? I said, yeah. I'm taking B12 shots. I said, okay. So, again, to my prior point, that's not my lane. So I call one of my colleagues who's a medical doctor, sports nutritionist. I said, Eric, shout out to Eric Serrano in Columbus. I said, Eric, this guy's a running back, take bilateral hamstring strain. He goes, what's he taking? He goes, oh, there's a dye in the B12 shots. There's a red dye and it's causing X, Y, and Z.
Wow.
So the team did not go outside to try to find the answer because they didn't have the answer.
That's right.
But you have to look at it globally. That
Wow.
was nothing that the team did, he did, I did, nothing. It was because that one change.
Wow.
That aspect, I think, needs to be, they try to do it with certain sports. Performance, right?
Sure, right.
There's a performance director.
How
No.
much control ultimately, right, do you have on every
much.
individual person, right? Because it
Not
comes
much.
down to what are they ingesting? How are they sleeping? How are they hydrating?
Not much.
How are they resting and recovering? You know, it's, gosh,
Yeah.
there's so many variables beyond just what happened in that 60 minutes on the
Yeah.
field or on the court, you know?
Yeah. I know of, I think it's Octagon that works with a dear friend of mine, Paul Gagne. And he's been working with them for years. And they're a hockey agency. And they have a good model because they hired him and they hired someone in-house to work with them and to continue to find, like, to stay 5 years ahead. Okay? Before guys are doing the PEMF, you knew about it. You know? Before guys were getting PRP, you knew about it. And you knew if it worked or it didn't work. I mean, I think that's the wave of the future.
Yes.
That if you can, you know, to keep athletes to have an edge, for me, for pro athletes, that's going to be something that's going to be a tool.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for the layperson, the average person, to even understand the kind of discipline and work ethic and commitment and all those words that we hear right, all the time to perform at the highest level at a pro level sport. You know what the demands are and stuff,
And to stay there.
and to stay there
To stay there.
for
That's the key.
for 10 years, 15 years in some regard, you know, and that's what they say. The average, see, we hear the big names like the you know, the average person does not stay a professional for 12 to 15 years. They just don't. What's the average? Like 6 to 8 years or something, right? I would say.
NFL's less.
It might even be less.
Yeah, it's probably around 3.
Right.
3.5.
Because you're seeing, you know, your focus is on only certain key players who are getting extra attention, extra, you know, right, extra coaching, extra off the field help and everything else because they're the franchise. So they're gonna the longevity is gonna probably be in their favor because there's just extra incentive for the organization, right? But the average person, the no-name guys on the special teams, the linemen or the second string guys, like all these guys, a lot of them have those short careers,
Very
2,
short.
3, 4,
Yeah.
4 years, and they're out. Right.
And they took a lot of damage.
And they took a crap load of damage.
Yeah.
I remember talking to a guy years ago. I don't even remember his name. I know he played for the Detroit Lions. I met him at some event I was at. This is a long time ago. And his body, I think I had heard of him when he said who he was. I was like, oh, man, I think I remember. He was, again, I think he was with the Lions back when Barry Sanders was playing there. And his body was just, he started talking about this injury and this surgery and this and this. And I could barely walk. And at the time, I think the guy was still in his 30s. I don't even know if he was 40 years old yet. And his body was just absolutely.
It doesn't surprise me. There's a few sports like that where you're not. It's not a long career, and it's tough.
It is.
It's tough. So
I mean, baseball. I would say certainly, if there's a sport with longevity, I would say baseball. It would be in your favor, not just because of the non-contact aspect of it.
You have to be able to stay up.
Yeah.
You have to be able to stay up there for a few years to enjoy the fruits of your labor.
My God.
With baseball and with hockey, it's very unique because when they move up from what we would call AAA or AAA in hockey.
Yeah. Yep. AAA in baseball.
Right.
Yeah.
AAA in baseball. It's a whole nother game at that level.
Yes.
And the players tell me it takes a few years to learn how to play at that level.
Wow.
And when they learn how to play at that level, is their body healthy enough then to play at that level for another 3, 4, 5 years and get a bigger contract or, have a longer career, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of the conundrum with them. You have to, in any of those sports, you have to, again, take advocacy at a certain point, or else you're going to limit your career span. Wow. There's no question about that. But it's the same for your general population, too. I think now it's, you pick a career and, like you referred to before, movement and your body has to be a big part of your life. And if it isn't, you're gonna shorten all that. Or you'll have a long career and then spend after you retire just trying to stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of respect for the Andrew Lucks of the world who, at their prime, said, hey, guys, I'm good. Mm-hmm. I'm good. He's a quarterback from Stanford, high draft pick, first-round draft pick for the Indianapolis Colts. He was the successor of Peyton Manning. He makes the Colts, continues to keep them relevant, and then while still in his 20s says, I'm good. I want to use this thing, my brain, for something else.
Yeah.
I don't want to take that hit that's going to change my life kind of thing. I have other ambitions. I have other things I'd like to do. I did this NFL thing for 7 years, and I did it really well. But I'm going to go ahead and, at the top of his game, it was a shock to the sports world, But that happens in lots of sports with guys maybe who are lesser known, but who say, I've had a good run, and I haven't taken that big hit yet, or my body's not completely garbage yet. So I'm going to go ahead and make a decision here that, is going to be a hard decision for other people to hear, but it's the right one for me. I'm sure you've been around a few of those guys.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of those examples. They're outliers for sure.
Yeah.
Because, you have to have the opportunities and you have to have the ability, the resources, a lot, especially NFL and NBA. These guys don't have any other opportunities.
That's right. That's their paycheck.
And they haven't gotten the level of education to make them competitive in the marketplace. So for them, but for that, small percentage, like you mentioned, Andrew Lucks, and like in the UFC, the Dagestani guy, Khabib, he retired undefeated and could have made a ton of more money, and he was like, nope, I'm done.
Good.
There's been a few, boxing's my favorite sport, so I tend to go to that.
Were you a Pacquiao Mayweather guy for a while? Like everybody was. Were you?
Well, I wanted to see that fight a lot sooner than it did.
I sure did. About 7 years sooner.
Yeah, a lot sooner. I didn't really.
I know.
I didn't think that was. And then he took the fight with a injured shoulder too.
Yes, I know. It was very frustrating. That was very frustrating that didn't happen.
That's
sooner.
a good word. It was very frustrating. No, there's I'm trying to think of the light heavyweight. I'm a big fan of his out on the West Coast, and he's another guy, to your point, who left the game. Oh my goodness. How can I not think of his name? His Son of God is his.
Oh.
Oakland, California, light heavyweight. I'm gonna get murdered by my friends if they see this.
No, don't get murdered. I can't stand to have somebody murdered.
Because, it's like one of those names that you should know and you don't know right away.
Boxer, light heavyweight, right?
Yeah, light heavyweight world champion.
I'm doing it in real time. I'm looking this thing up. So that
Oakland, California, Son of God. If you type in
Andre Ward,
Son of God. Yeah, he's another guy. He retired. He could have made a lot more money, had a few more fights, even just with 2 more fights, 3 more fights. He could have made a lot more money. He was offered to come out of retirement a bunch of times. And again, to your point, but, was like, no, I'm going to save my body, my brain, and I've
I
got
have other
other
opportunities.
important things that I want to do. That's
maybe my wife
admirable.
and I have been talking about it. My kids, whatever. Or there's these business opportunities that have been knocking for years, and I've been saying no, not yet. And then it's just Andrew Luck is the GM at Stanford now. He went back to his alma mater.
I didn't know that.
And because of the nature of NIL and college sports now, right? These guys are getting paid as college athletes. They're coming. There's like new positions happening in some of these.
Interesting.
So he's basically like a GM. I'm pretty sure I'm right here for his alma mater, for Stanford. Which what a boost to the football program to have one of the best to ever play there come back and help your program.
Of course.
I guarantee you in the next 3 to 5 years, they're going to be way more relevant than they have been since he left.
Yeah.
Because of his presence on there. And because all it takes, we know it's, if you have the right guy at the top, that's gonna trickle down and it's going to raise everyone else's game. And they're going to become
I bet they'll see some positives out of that.
Oh, 100%. So now this is fun. Last thing I want to ask, because this will be a little bit more personal to people listening. When it comes to head traumas, concussions at the younger level, as parents and as coaches, youth coaches and stuff listening, what are some things maybe that we can look for or try and talk with maybe even our young athletes about when it comes to head injuries or head issues that maybe we didn't see, or how can we recognize those things from a younger age, 10, 11, 12, teenage years?
So I would say that I'm going to categorize it in like very young, like middle school age,
Yes.
and then high school age. Very young kids, up to my son's age, which is 8 now, right up to like teenage years, you want to have them play.
Yes.
They want to play and have fun and do as many activities as possible. What I do recommend is activities that, like gymnastics, like animal movements, like martial arts, where they understand where they are in space,
Yes.
in 360 degrees.
Proprioception.
A lot of that.
Yeah.
Because that's going to make them better athletes. And if they do funnel in middle school, now they start, again, don't specialize in sports, not even in middle school. I know they're doing it everywhere, but it's not a good idea. It's good to practice the sport you love hard and play other sports so that you develop. If they're funneling off into sports that are more contact-like, like football, like soccer, get involved in leagues and organizations where there is no head contact yet, at least until high school.
Yep.
Where they start getting a little stronger, or they're going through puberty and it's a little bit different for them. So I would say that's number one. You don't want to get them, if they're hitting and they're 11 years old, that's not a really good idea for them.
Yep.
Because their brain is developing at such a rapid pace.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, even the subconcussive trauma can have a cumulative effect at that age.
Yep.
Even though they're elastic and they recover really quick.
Yeah.
Okay. So then as a parent, that's the one thing. Don't specialize. Get them involved in stuff that allows them to play in 360 degrees. And watch your kid. Like, there's too many parents. I go to my kid's practices. He's a wrestler, and they're not really watching. And I want to know when he doesn't look right.
That's right.
Because no one knows my kid better than me.
That's right.
I want to know when he's not moving right, when something's not right, because those are signs that maybe all that subconcussive trauma that they took in the sport, or maybe they got hit and you didn't see it.
Yep.
Maybe they fell at school and you didn't see it.
Yep.
Which happens all the time.
Sure.
Maybe in the case of middle school now, even they were studying hard for a test and they spent 7 hours in front of the computer. Or maybe they spent 9 hours playing games the night before.
Yeah.
That's a different athlete the next day. The hard drive is different from that time that you spent gaming. So those are things that parents can be aware of and know. And, get yourself involved with programs in schools that implement really good safety programs and return to play, protocols, and have real smart progressions as to how they introduce contact into their athletes. Yeah. There's a way to introduce contact. I use judo all the time. My kids studied judo for a couple of years, and I watched the progression from play. First, they teach them how to fall.
Yeah,
they got to learn how to fall.
Yeah,
but they got to learn how to fall when they're seated, when they're squatting, when they're standing, when they're running, then they progress to that. Then they start progressing into more technical movements and how to use the body. But, it's a perfect example of understanding, that kid could hit his head. It's real important they know how to break that fall.
Yeah, huge. Especially when you're learning that and really absorbing it as a young person.
Yeah.
And probably retaining a certain amount of that over the course of your life. So that's preventative in nature. But then on the other side of life, our final chapter in life, we all know when we get older that the falling leading to trauma, whether it be a hip, a shoulder, a head.
Oh, dude, that's a whole nother episode.
That's a whole nother episode. And that
we do an episode on posture alone.
That's why that's a great segue to you being back on the show in the future. Because there's so much to talk about there.
I point out all the time, to that point, with aging, and I said that's a whole nother podcast on posture, it's if you create a visual of that Neanderthal man where they show him evolving into a man and he's walking in good gait, and you reverse that as you age and become more kyphotic and your gait changes.
Yes.
Well, your brain is becoming less efficient. It's also more taxing on it.
Yes.
That's why older people need naps at 2 o'clock.
Well, the weight of the head, once that head starts coming forward, your head goes from a 9-pound structure to a 20 to 40-pound structure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the information that it's attaining from space is really corrupted because it thinks you're falling over.
Yep. Wow.
So the postural issue is, in my opinion, that's a separate thing to talk about. It's equally important for kids. So you said training. What kind of training? Postural training, movement training. So how old? So as old as they want. You want to teach them a sport when they're 13, that's fine. But gymnastics, all the corrective exercise, LDOA, which we can talk about. And then as they age, the aging population, that becomes a priority as well.
Yeah.
Why? I want the best management of my gravity line and in space because it's more efficient.
Yes.
It's less stressful on this old body to be more efficient.
Yeah.
Whereas poor posture, it's less efficient.
Correct.
And extremely taxing, again, back to globality, taxing on everything.
Yes, right. Everything. Everything runs through your spinal cord. And good posture doesn't start down here.
No.
It starts up here, doesn't it?
No, that senior that has a problem with blood pressure, look at their mechanics first. That senior that has a problem with incontinence, look at the mechanics. That senior that has a problem with falling, like you said, look at their posture. Look at all of posture.
Yeah, it's good. Well, we will. We'll have to do this because there's a lot to discuss there, and I'd love to have you back in the future, and we can. Yeah, there's so much to dive into, but
I love this stuff.
It's I obviously, evidently, right? Well, it's great. I really appreciate you making time to be on the show. We've made a new friend here on Strong by Design, Mr. Ben Velazquez. Where would be the best place for our listeners to find more of what you do and a platform? I know you have a website.
Yeah, just the website because it'll kind of link you to everything else there. The social media. I'm working on a couple of projects. I'm working on an LDOA project, which is going to be very interesting. It's it's a system that was developed by Dr. Guy Voyer. It's extremely powerful in terms of working to make the spine healthier, the pelvis, the scapular girdle.
Wow.
And, so we're going to do that. But they can find me at benvelazquez.com. And
Ben
that's
Velazquez.
with 2 Z's, no
I was going to
S's.
say, that's Z's, no S's. benvelazquez.com.
Yeah. Thank you to your guests, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're thrilled. They're thrilled to be listening and learning from you as I am. And we appreciate, I love the stories. And that's storytelling is one of the most fun things we do here on the podcast.
Yeah,
with our
people
guests.
love stories, man.
People love stories, dude.
Yeah.
And we appreciate all of you listeners for finding this episode on Strong by Design. Go back and listen to past episodes if you've been missing some. Every week or two when we release an episode, it's something that's going to help you in body, mind, or spirit. And we believe that you are created strong by design, made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. So we just are so grateful for all of you. And please share this episode with a friend or family member who could benefit from all the wonderful things that Ben shared today on the episode. We'll be back soon, and we'll talk to you then. God bless.
God bless. Peace and love. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.